Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of UCB on Mission. If you are a Christian, then you are following Jesus on his mission to love God and love neighbor. Now, my part in that mission looks different than your part in that mission, so UCB on Mission is a space where we can learn together about our role on the mission of God as a family of God. As the Apostle Paul says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Now, before I jump into our program and introduce our guests, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends and sponsors over at Sola. If you haven't had Sola yet, you need to check it out. Their poutine is my favorite. We've got all the information on how you can get in contact with them and make your first order at Sola. They've now got locations open near you in Usaquén and down here in the Chapinero area. Don't hesitate to reach out and enjoy Bogota's finest New Orleans food at Sola. All right, as you can see, we're coming at you live today, this afternoon, from our church building because Baxley and I have been testing out things so that we can broadcast to you tomorrow from our sanctuary. So it seems to be going well. I'm excited. I don't know why, but it feels like the first day of spring, just some newness to do a church thing in the church building, and very, very soon, Lord willing, with you, our church people. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and pull Fabián up on my screen. Fabián, you are on the screen. You can unmute yourself. Thank you so much for joining us today for UCB on Mission.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Pastor, for having me here.
So I would love if you could just jump right in and introduce yourself to those who may not have the pleasure yet of knowing you.
Well, thank you. My name is Fabián Giraldo. I'm from Colombia, from the region of Independence in Colombia, a little town or city called Duitama. So my last name is Giraldo, and my second last name is Chaparro. And that means it's kind of weird because Giraldo is from the Paisa region and Chaparro is from the people from Boyacá. So I got this mix. Definitely, my dad is a Paisa and my mom is of pure blood Boyacense. So it's kind of different. Yeah. So I lived there till I was 17 years, and then I went to the army, to the Colombian army. I spent almost 31 years in the Colombian army, plenty of experiences that I'll be more than glad to discuss with you today. And then I retired this year, and I'm working in the National Planning Department as a subdirector of security and defense. And yeah, that's pretty much all my summary. And I'm very glad to be here. I wanted to mention that this program is outstanding. I was checking a couple of videos of other people, and I have not sliced as many others, but I found very interesting videos, and I strongly recommend to check that out. And I'm very honored to be here.
Thank you, Fabián. You're very kind. I'm a pastor first, but if I ever burn out doing the pastor thing, maybe I can switch over to like Jimmy Fallon, have some sort of some sort of late night TV show. No, it's fun to do this sort of thing because these are conversations I enjoy having with our church people. I think that I get to pastor some of the world's most fascinating people. So it's cool to let others listen in on these conversations. Fabián, when did you become a Christian?
Well, because of our roots in Colombia, many of us we used to be Catholics at the beginning, and then I think probably 15 years ago I became Christian. So yeah, following Christ in a different way as we know. However, that's a whole discussion with the Catholics, and because at the end everyone is following Christ in terms of the people that believe in Jesus. So from that part, I would say 15 years ago.
And you mentioned a 30-year career in the military. What specifically were you doing in the military? I mean, that you're allowed to tell us. You don't have to tell us things that are
No, that's fine. I mean, this is a perfect question. Yeah, but before that, I would say that when I was a kid, I started playing with little soldier toys. So I think that was in my heart and in my blood, probably. My dad, he did something that is called like a mandatory service, military service. So he was kind of inviting me to do exercises and stuff like that when I was a little kid. In fact, some of their punishments were like in the military, so were like push-ups and runs and something very strange like rolling over. So I started liking it, and I gotta be honest. At a certain point, I before I got into the army, I watched Rambo, so yeah, I kind of like that stuff. So that's kind of a motivation thing that invites you to go, not necessarily the real reason to be there, but when you are at that age, many things influence the way you're thinking and the ways you like some stuff. But I definitely wanted to be in the military, so I started my career in 1989. So I went to the military academy in Colombia, which is called Jose Maria Cordova. He's a famous leader of the independence period, and yeah, I start wanting to be a soldier, an officer. I like infantry, but at the end I didn't pick up that branch. So I went to the artillery, and then I became an aviator, and that's where probably one of the most exciting things happened in my life.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit more about that. What was so exciting about becoming a pilot?
Well, before that, since all this thing in my brain, thinking about the Rambo story, and then you start when you get involved in this, you start thinking about the special forces as a main motivator. In Colombia, there is a famous combat course that is called Lancero, and it's something similar to Ranger, and in the States, in the United States Army. So just to make an idea, I don't know what is the equivalent in other countries, but hopefully all the audience is catching me what I'm trying to say on that. So all I wanted to be is a Lancero. I wanted to be a Special Forces, a paratrooper. I have no idea, no plan at all of being a pilot. And then I went to the south of Department of Cesar, which is far north of the country. I spent like 3 years there, and I did my training. I did all the Special Forces thing. Um, and then for some reason at that time in the Colombian army, this thing was not as organized as it is now. So my next assignment was when I ended my special forces training course. I went to what is called a military police unit, which is like it's something very frustrating for somebody that wants to be a commando. So if you go to a military police unit, it's like what I'm going to do there in a concrete space. I like the jungle. I want to be there. I want to be with the special forces units and all that stuff, and it didn't happen. So I went to this police unit. I spent 6 months. So at that time, and this is almost a perfect match. This interview, because this week we are commemorated 25 years of the reactivating of the Colombian Aviation Army. So at that time, they picked me up for becoming a pilot, a helicopter pilot, and I honestly I wasn't expecting that. So I didn't expect that we were part of the first 5 officers becoming helicopter pilots in the Colombian Army reactivation of the branch. So then just imagine all the adventures from that stage ahead.
Yeah, I can't remember where I was reading about this, or maybe I was speaking with you about it, but we're talking 1995. They reactivate the Colombian Air Force. And how many helicopters did you have in country at that point?
Well, at that time there were no helicopters at all. So that was something that I didn't understand how things will be. So we start training in a in a civilian school. It's called Aerocentro. I think somebody from Aerocentro used to go to the church. A Brit guy. I'm not sure.
Could be.
Mr. Lever. Mr.
Yeah.
Lever. I think.
James Lever. Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
father of Colombian aviation.
Okay. Okay. So we went to that school at that time. We start flying the huge 300. Well known by I probably forgot that this program that used to be the French guy that used to explore the sea and used to fly in that little helicopter. It was a very small helicopter, piston engine. Everything was manual. Everything was difficult. We were flying in Bogota. I was too heavy for that helicopter in Bogota, so my turns, my hours of flying used to be like 6 in the morning because the temperature was used to be very low at that time. So that was my time flying in order to be able to learn how to fly. So I start flying that helicopter. And at that time, since your question about helicopters, we didn't have any helicopter.
Yeah.
But the national police, they do. They did have helicopters at that time. So they invite us to start flying with them. So I spent a year with the police, with the national police, flying with them, learning a lot of things from the way they operate, making friends. And so by the end of that period, we start having helicopters. And the first helicopter we received were the famous Black Hawks. I don't know many people is familiarized with that, but it's a very interesting helicopter. You can Google it and find more details about that. But some people believe that that's the best helicopter of air assault in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we received also a couple of Mi-17s, which are a Russian helicopter. It's kind of interesting because those helicopters, they have different technologies and they're totally different in ways, but at the end they accomplish pretty much the same missions. So yeah, and then I went to the Air Force to receive training to fly the Black Hawk. So I went to the Air Force also. So I have another experience flying with them for a year. And finally, I became a pilot, a Black Hawk pilot, and I started flying on that frame.
My kids, there are lots of helicopters to watch from our window at home, and they love it when the Black Hawks fly over us because it rattles everything and it's so loud.
Yeah.
It's an incredible machine. So, all right, Fabián, as I told you, when it was time for questions for a kid. My middle daughter, Evie, wanted to ask you specifically about being a helicopter pilot. So we're going to jump into that segment right now. Questions from a kid.
It's time for questions from a kid. How old were you when you learned to fly a helicopter?
Well, we have to do the math pretty much. I retired a year ago, so it was probably about when I was 25 or 26. So yeah, that was the time that when I started flying a helicopter, and it was, as I mentioned, that little bird, which was a whole challenge to fly.
Wow! All right, here comes our second question.
How do you fly a helicopter?
All right. Well, that's an interesting question. I would say probably some people will agree with me. Is kind of if you picture a juggler which keeps things in motion, it's pretty much the same thing. You have to be aware of many things. You have this cockpit with all these instruments where you have to read many indications of how the helicopter is going, what kind of speed are you in what altitude, many other things, and there is something else. There is flying a helicopter at that time. Nowadays is a little bit, I would say, probably easier, but everything used to be manual. So you have in your left hand, you have something that is called the collective. With the collective control, you can move your helicopter up and down. And then you have the cyclic control, which is in the right hand, and with the right, you can move the helicopter pretty much 360 degrees. So you can go this direction or that direction, or you can go rearward, whatever you want, pretty much in all direction. and then you have your feet in the pedals, and the pedals you move right or left, and that's pretty much when you are taxiing in the ground. So you have you move the helicopter, you turn if you need. So that's pretty much on. And if you are in a hover, you also move in this X. So you move like this with your pedals. So you have all your hands, your feet, and everything else all at the same time in motion. So that's why a juggler should be something close to that.
So how do you drink your coffee while you're up there? I mean, if you're
Well, some, particularly in the Black Hawk, you have another pilot. So we used to say you have the controls, and the other guy, the co-pilot, they have to answer positively. I have the controls. You
Yeah.
have the controls. So then you release, and then you drink your coffee. If you can.
Great. That's great. I just want to say, as somebody who doesn't like flying, that sounds terrifying. The amount of control that you have to have. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, here comes her third and final question.
How does it feel to fly in a helicopter?
Well, it's a lot of things. I think the closest should be being able to help many other people. So feeling great because you're doing that. Feeling great because your soldiers they don't have to walk all those long distances or being in a truck. So now they can move from point A to point B faster, and you are contributing to do that, and that's definitely exciting. That's rewarding. So that's part of the thing. The other thing is about being above. Being able to see the spectacular landscapes that we have in the country. So in other countries, for instance, we purchased a couple of Blackhawks and we brought them here from Connecticut, United States, to Colombia in 15 days. So that was a whole experience flying over a big portion of those countries that we have to go through. So yeah, it is exciting. I recommend in many places around the world they offer these tourism tours.
Mhm.
So those are great because you're not as high as a plane, because in a plane you're not going to be able to see much of the time things, but in a helicopter most of the times you are in a very lower altitude, and you can see more things in a more detail.
Yeah, I'm still holding out hope for the whole Uber helicopter thing to take off. Maybe now in your retirement, that's what you can do, Fabián. You can Uber heli.
Yeah, I stopped flying about 5 years ago. I dedicate myself to do this the whole leadership thing at the operational level of we call tactical level operational, like in the middle, and then we talk about strategic. So I stopped doing that because I was thinking, if I want to do, I think flying is a full-time profession. So you cannot do both. So if you want to keep let's say current in what you're doing, because it requires a lot of currency, studying and being up to date in many things, so you better dedicate just to do that. So I stopped flying, and I believe I don't know, I'm not thinking about flying at least in the short term.
Yeah, that's okay. You've got lots of other things to do. Okay, so you alluded to this earlier, and I was curious what you were alluding to. Okay, you joined the military because one, your dad was an influence, and two, you saw Rambo and you thought, man, it's cool with the machines and the muscles and the and all this stuff. But you said that's not the real reason to join the military. What is that? What is the heart of serving in the military?
Well, I mean, most of the people will agree that it's about service, and I believe that because at the end, it's not a Rambo thing. It's a lot more complex. You have many fields where you can impact society. You have at least in the closed circle, you have the soldiers, and the soldiers are with you. And I prepare as an officer to become a leader. When I was 20 years old, I was in charge of 40 people, and I had to go and teach them and train them and have to say crazy things, not crazy to regret, but crazy things as anecdotics they were. For instance, one time we were walking all together in Guajira, in the department of Guajira, and I saw a river and I saw a bridge, and I was Lancero already, so I said, okay, we're gonna jump from out of this bridge, and we're gonna jump to the river, and because we need that training just in case we need that. So those great things that we used to do when we were younger, and I jump over there, and that's just, I didn't ask for so safety guy or expert swimmer as we do all these processes now. But anyway, beyond that, it was more about influencing them. It was more about teaching them. It was more about giving them a new experience. So we're talking in that circle. We are making a difference in people, and many of them, I can meet them for accident, and they will remind all those experiences, and most of the time they were very very good and unforgettable. On the other matter, we can go to another circle, if I may say that, and that can be society. I was deployed in this department of Cesar with a lot of poverty. I was deploying in those little towns, so we were helping people. We were embracing kids. We were projecting the image of the army. I remember that we used to paint our faces with camouflage, and just trying to bring also some sort of authority, not being a scare, not creating scare, but just creating authority, belief of somebody is taking care of us. And then the things start moving up when once you are moving up in your career, and you're becoming you are taking other positions, and you are in charge of many other things, and then you start reflecting about the service. So 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 in fact, I will share with you that I wrote my dissertation in the UK, in a university that I was studying. Was about the importance of the military forces as an instrument of the socialization of the society. It sounds very weird, but it's pretty much what we're trying to do is see how the society or how the state can use the military forces to socialize more people, and in a way that is not only about defense, it's not about national defense, it's not only about security, it's also about teaching people how to do things, maybe reinforcing values and other things. And so I was trying to get some example of different countries through history. I was using the Romans, I was using the French people, the Germans, the Prussians, and other countries. And I believe if we can reorganize this thing, and we can make sure that we produce a better, let's say, way of training, way of teaching, and everything as it is should be perfect, then we can have better people getting back to the society and do whatever they have to do, to get the country, let's say, better.
I like that idea, using the military, not in animalistic ways, right? Not in just fight, defense, attack, but in humanizing ways, in restorative ways. I think that's really beautiful. And that leads me to my next question. So this show is called UCB On Mission. How is your work as a member of the armed forces, how is that part of God's bigger mission?
Yeah, I think everything goes back to service, and I believe if we can focus on service, we can have the answer very easy. Many times I was facing maybe frustration for not being in the unit I wanted to be, or for being in a post, or for being in a position I didn't want it to be, and trying to ask myself why I'm not there, and why I'm here, or whatever. So the answer always was the same: service.
Mm-hmm.
So then from that, you're gonna be okay. So that was pretty much what motivates me all the time when I get, especially because this is life, and life in the army, you have to go wherever they need you to go, and not necessarily wherever you want to go. So you have to figure out how to deal with that. So in service, you find the answer you need to keep the motivation very up.
Mm-hmm.
So back into the lore. Yeah, I think the other thing is with the lore, when you start following the lore, and when you start praying and seeing how he is operating in your life, and many other things that I probably planned never happened. I didn't plan to become an aviator. I became the first pilot in command of the Colombian Army Aviation in a helicopter. So I didn't plan that. So when you start seeing that, you see, well, this is great, and then you have to deal with some other beliefs in the organization. For instance, in our country, our society is very Catholic. So I might go in a different way that the pastor can tell me, but sometimes it is important to lead by example. And when you show by example what you're doing and what you're believing, some people start getting close to you to ask about it. So they say, why are you acting in this way? This is not very common, because of the law. So maybe you were not like preaching, but you were just trying to set an example, and the people start asking about it. So then you can preach a little bit.
Yeah, I'm so interested in that. And you mentioned that you became a Christian about 15 years ago, or there was some big turning point in your faith journey 15 years ago. And how did that change the way you served your country?
I think in our culture, many things used to be very common to do. Um, let's try an example. We used to say a long time ago. I'm not saying that it's happening now, but we used to say, for instance, something called la perrada. La perrada means sorry for using that word. Maybe not people it's going to be very comfortable with it. But la perrada is something like you can do stuff without and nobody's going to catch you in things that you're doing that probably wrong. So you are very smart because you do those things and nobody catch you. But when you know that God is with you, and God is leading you, you're not thinking about that anymore, because you know always God is looking at you. I have a little story. I don't know if I got that story from you, but probably. But this is the story of two men that rob a hen, and then one guy tells the other, go somewhere where nobody's going to be looking at you, and kill the hen, and in the meantime I'm going to set a fire, put a pot, and we will make a sancocho or something with the hen that we just stole. And the guy, he disappeared for countless minutes, or maybe a couple hours, and then he show up with the hen alive. And the other guy asked him, hey, what happened? Why you didn't kill the hen? Look, I went, I had everywhere from everybody, and all the time this hen was looking at me. So so this is just to say that always is God looking at us, and then not bad things can be made in or can be at least be executed as used to be before. And we have this and I don't want to get deep on this, but we have these standards. So we believe some things are not as bad as others. So at the end, we know that every single thing that is bad is bad, is evil, and that's it. So there are not little sin.
Yeah, you and I have talked about this before, and you certainly don't have to go into much detail, but you rose in rank in the military. You're a colonel, and I would imagine that the pressures to do the wrong thing changed as you rise in rank, and that it's harder, or let's say it's different, to serve Christ and to serve your country. Did you experience that sort of tension as you gained more influence and power?
Yeah, one of the things I change, for instance, is about lying, about lies. Um, we used to say, for instance, those little lies. For instance, we were expecting a helicopter, or somebody's expecting a helicopter, and just tell him, or whoever the person in charge were, just tell him that the helicopter is taking off, and the helicopter is in the spot with no crew yet. So that sort of stuff, I just stop it. I just say, look, if it's not flying, it's not flying. If it's not there, even a little lie, is not the thing we're gonna use, for instance. So another example is, for instance, when you are with a superior, and you think the superior did something that is not quite correct.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this superior was asking me. So I said, look, sir, that was very wrong, to be honest. I'm sorry for the. I used to. Well, I mean, I was trying at least to say it in a very polite way, but it doesn't mean that I was going to say no. That was very cool. So that probably create at some point some tension with some leaders. I don't hesitate about it, but I don't complain about, because it's the right thing to do. So yeah, I would say better to say the truth all the time.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful and admirable. And civilians like me who haven't been in your world or haven't been in the political world can't understand the pressures that are put on you to do maybe the wrong thing, or to do the right thing but in the wrong way, right? And that's something I've always found admirable about you, which is, here is service to my Savior, and here's my career, and I'm going to have to put my career underneath service to my Savior. And so if I have to tell my superior, I can't do this, or you shouldn't have done that, and it costs me a promotion, or maybe a posting that I don't like, or something like that, then so be it. And I have found that beautiful about you. And I just want to say thank you. And that is tremendously hard to do in
Well,
many areas of life. So thank you for being courageous in that way.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I think is the right way, and it is amazing the way also God start giving you different options that you're not expecting. But in my case, my whole career is plenty of experiences like that. I had no chance to go, for instance, to study in the United States in the Command General Staff College, and I was picked up because God. I'm pretty sure of that. I never expect to go to study in Europe, in the UK, in the Royal College of Defence Studies, and I was picked up, and I was kind of at that moment I was is this really me? But yeah, I mean, many things. Although I became Christians 15 years ago, I think the values and everything that my parents taught me, they let me maintain my line, and I could say I can say today that I'm very blessed of having this career, and I'm very blessed of being able to share these experiences with people as the audience, and you, Andrew, and of course, this is not about let's say, creating a pattern or inspiring better than just kind of exchange experiences and see what can work and what cannot for people in different ways. But at the end, is a normal path, and I think the one who is inspiring us is God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fabián, sometimes I'll have a young person, 17 or 18, about to graduate from high school, and they'll say, I want to join the military, and they'll ask my advice. And they'll say something like, I want to join the military, but I'm a Christian. Is being a Christian and being in the military, are those things incompatible? And I'm just curious how you've thought through that tension. You know, you had your conversion experience after you're already in the military. So you weren't weighing out this ethical dilemma, the fact that you're going to carry a weapon, that you may be deployed in war, that there may be human life at stake. What would you say to a young person about the compatibility of being a Christian and being in the military?
Well, I would say first that the Colombian army and many armies in the world will be a lot better if all of them were Christians. I would say that for sure. Not necessarily the army is, as I mentioned before, a killing machine or some sort of thing in that way. The military is an institution that creates opportunities for many people in many fields that not necessarily involved with killing. Killing is something that will be always around the corner, and somebody has to protect others. Somebody has to protect the defenseless, and somebody has to do that in with the right sort of laws and rights and everything.
Mm-hmm.
With the evolution of the military and the conflict and all this discussion about the human rights and everything else, I believe the military institutions are more and more towards doing things protecting lives. So the precision, the guided missiles or the guided weapons, whatever you want to call them, are more precise and are more accurate. So this sort of thing is less and less used. So yeah, just think about that. If you want to go to the army, think about what sort of field would you like to excel, and if you find any conflict in that field with your beliefs, try to move away from that field and do it in another one.
Mm-hmm.
But believe me, then when you have to go and use the force, you're gonna use the force representing the state and representing whatever is correct. It is the missions that are going that are living about going and kill somebody are not very common and are the exception, and that use of force is extreme thing is something that is absolutely necessary because whoever is the military forces pursuing or chasing are killing more other people or getting in risk many other let's say infrastructure installations on people at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but on the other hand, you can do many other things, so you necessarily has to be in the front line and doing that kind of stuff. I don't see a lot of conflict on that. I think doing the right things in the right way is the proper thing to do for the people. So in my case, I didn't have to use the force many times for achieving any objective. I have to say, for instance, I participated in an operation, is a famous one, where there was only, unfortunately, one shot and one enemy was got a scratch. That was all, and we captured about 14 people.
Mm.
I participate in another mission that is more known, perhaps. This is Hake. I don't know if some people, maybe they're familiar with. We released the Americans and the people that was kidnapped for many years.
Yes, yes.
So I participated in that mission, and that mission particularly, they were not shot.
Yeah.
So there are many things where even you have many things. You have weapons, all sort of them, but you didn't use them. So that's the beautiful part of doing this job sometimes.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the words of Jesus about the depth, the magnitude of love, and laying down one's life for one's friend. And there is a sense in which there is a call to do this, to lay down life. I'm also just thinking about what you're describing is tremendously heavy, right? Human life, anytime human life ends, it is really sad and really heavy, and that impacts someone. I have found myself, when someone asks me this question, should I join the military, just saying consider the possibilities. I didn't prepare you for this question, so I apologize, but one of the things I ask people is, Christians need to be on the cutting edge of the sword that God uses through the state to execute justice. I think you and I would both agree about that. But I do encourage people, make sure that you think that your country is doing the right thing before you join the military. And is that something that you would advise young people, is to look at the policies of your country, look and see if the conflicts they're involved with are just, and that if there is human life that will be taken, that it is to defend the innocent and not for some other cause that wouldn't be just. Is that something that goes through your mind, or that you talk with people about?
Well, yeah, maybe that's important. Definitely, we need to discuss about what the state is how the state is operating. But I believe in the case of the Colombian army, everything is in place. Everything is in fact, we have a lot of sponsorship from
Sure.
foreign countries like the United States and the UK and many others. And the first condition to help, to provide help, is not using in the wrong way the force. However, in the case of the Colombian military forces, this is a proof, or this is a kind of thermometer of, if I may say that, of the society. The Colombian army, the Colombian military forces are let's say, integrated by Colombians of all sort of sectors of the society. So people may do wrong things, and we really regret that. But this is not part of a systematic policy. On the other hand, if you have to raise your hand when something is wrong, don't hesitate to do that, because that's going to be the proper thing to do. I was trying to think in a book that I just read a few years ago. I'm trying to find the. Well, I don't see it right here, but it's about how the proper leadership, the proper following of the rules, and the proper conduct and the proper example create units that are way better than units that are not in this path. So the leadership, yeah, I remember a question of command is the name of the title of the book, Question of Command, and they narrate, the author narrates stories through history about how many good leaders doing the right things all the time just did contribute to end a conflict. Which I'm not getting into victory versus defeat, but ending a conflict, I think, is a victory.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would say that is definitely a victory. Anytime you can end harm to human life and conflict is a victory, and that's one of the beautiful ways I think that you and your colleagues work as a part of God's mission. And when all of this ends, right? When God returns, when Jesus returns to restore all things, swords will be beaten into plowshares, right? So
Yeah.
it's the end of the military, and you will be one of these people who has to find a new job like me. Although your current job, now that you're retired, actually involves things that will be happening in the new earth, right? Like organization and strategic
Yeah.
use of resources. So, what are you? This will be my second to last question. But what are you doing now? Now that you've retired?
Yeah, I'm working in the national planning department. Some people used to call them the super ministry because it is a department that involves supervising or overview of all the investment programs, you name it. I mean, so we connect with all the Minister of Transportation, Minister of Defense, Ministry of Interior, you name it, environment, everything. So in my job, I'm part of those connectors, if I can use that word. And my title is subdirector, but it's actually in charge of security and defense portion. So I work under another direction, and we connect everything with the Department of Ministry of Defense. So we contribute in many things. Let me tell you a couple of things. Right now we are helping with deforestation new policy, which is not deforestation, but it's actually reforestation. But is a new policy where we are trying to pursue a goal that has the government of seed 180. I think it's 180 million trees in the next few years. So we're trying to use the military sector in ways that can produce, not necessarily enforce, but also create, for instance, places where we can build or grow trees and just put them in other places, help people to keep the parks or the national parks. And then we have other things. So we are creating policies. We are helping in the creation of policies that are strategic for Colombia, and many of them are involved or are in coordination with many other countries.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
It is. It is. Believe me. For instance, we are working in a project that is called Servicio Naviero Colombiano, which is we have this company of is escaping the name of it, the one that is flying over Colombia by the government, is funded by the government, but now we're trying to do that in the rivers. And that's very interesting because we're going to be able to help people that is very in a very far parts, very isolated with no ways, but they have the rivers, so we can provide ways of transportation of their goods or whatever they need, and then just make their lives easier. So that's part of the projects that we are involved with right now, and many others with the oceans, with many things, with the borders. So that's very exciting part of what I'm doing right now. I'm excited of being part of it.
Good. Okay, so before someone closes this video, how would you ask them to pray for you?
No, I think we should pray for having for having better leadership, for making sure that the people that is becoming in charge of many positions are not only the qualified people, but also the people that is prepared for mentally and spiritually, mainly for the post. And I believe because at the end, just example start changing things. The other day, some people asked me how you can stop corruption, and my answer was just start providing example. And no matter how big is the example that you're going to provide, but just give example, even at the lowest level, is going to make the difference in the future.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Well, let me pray for you, and then we'll conclude our program. Lord, thank you for Fabián. Thank you for your grace in his life. This story is a beautiful story. A little boy playing with army figures develops into a servant of justice, and a servant of that which is right. And we're just really thankful for the way that you have protected him over the years, the way that you have guided him over the years, the way that you have developed him, and the way that you are still maturing him into the likeness of Jesus Christ, his Savior. That is really good and really beautiful. Thank you for the work that you have done through him. Thank you for his work now with Planeación. I pray, Lord, that you give him energy and creativity. Lord, continue by your Spirit to produce fruit in his heart that overflows into his work, so that he can do the right thing and in the right ways, and so that he can lead by example, as he's describing, so that corruption would be less and less, and that there would be more equity, more justice, more of the right thing in the right ways. Lord, I pray, as he prays, that you would be doing a great work of leadership development in this country, in every sector, that the right people, women and men, would be prepared with what they need for in terms of the skills that the job needs, but also the character and the spirit to do your work, Lord. You are a God of justice. You are a God of wholeness and a God of restoration. And we want these people to be serving as your agents in that work and in that mission. And so to the degree that our brother Fabián is doing that, I pray that you would prepare him and strengthen him for the task, Lord. So thank you for this time. Thank you for him. Would you please bless him in the name of Jesus? Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm going to kick you off the screen, but stay on the line, and we'll chat in just a second, and I'll close out our program, Fabián. Thank you again.
Okay.
All right, everybody. I've just noticed, and sorry if that's been distracting, that this actually is like a perfect hat on my head if I lean back just right. So sorry if that has distracted you from a very fascinating episode of UCB on Mission. So Juliana asks in the live chat, and Alvaro also asked, is the church open tomorrow? And the answer is no, not yet. We're still waiting to hear back from the city on Monday or Tuesday with our certificate saying we are open for business. So do not show up tomorrow. Even though we are broadcasting the church, I lovingly will ignore you as you ring the doorbell. I won't let you in. But Lord willing, that will happen very, very soon. So thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, turn on notifications so that you don't miss another episode of UCB on Mission. If you are a Christian, then you are on mission. What will that mission look like for you this week? Let's talk about it soon. Ciao.